So we continue with our series, Summer Love. And today the focus is going to be on family. Good old family, right? And I'm sure some of us have stories to tell about our own family. And some of us, well, we come from prominent families. And some of us come from small families. But within our families, we each have a role. I have a small family, and I have one sister who happens to be 7 years younger than myself. And we are like night and day, or day and night, however you want to look at it. She has olive-colored skin, really dark hair, dark brown eyes. And I, on the other hand, very fair complexion. True color, I'll have to say, is auburn. I enhance it a time or two, but it's really auburn, so it's lighter, it's red. And I have blue eyes. My sister is always dressed in the latest trends, and I, not so much. She was popular in high school and always had a boyfriend. I was always the girl next door and had a lot of guy friends, but no boyfriends. I was in the band and she was in track and cheerleading. She loved horses and loved going and taking riding lessons, and I didn't care for the smell of horses, much less walking in the stables with all the muck. Both of us, though, in our own ways, were visionaries. My sister can walk into any room and any house, really, and know just how to decorate it. She has that knack. She has that flair. She has that gift. And every holiday, her house looks like a showroom. Mine, not so much. She wraps her presents with beautiful ribbons, and she makes all her bows, and they're just streaming, and the presents just look like masterpieces. Mine, they got lumps. They're shaped awkwardly, not gifted right. And under the tree Christmas morning, you can tell who wrapped what gift. My vision, though, comes from working in churches, working in different industries that I've worked at. I've just had a knack of knowing like how it should flow, what it should look like, what we should present. I work full-time. She doesn't work at all. But she volunteers a lot in different areas. With dogs, with the golf club. She's always volunteering, staying busy. And sometimes when we're very close, we talk every day. And then there's times when we really don't talk at all. And it isn't because we're mad. It's just the way things are. But even though we may not talk every day or often, we always know we have each other's backs. No matter what, she knows she can pick up the phone and call me, and I can always call her and count on her to always be there. My sister has 2 children. She has a boy and a girl, and I have 1 son. All 3 kids, though, it was interesting. They knew our personalities. They knew who to go to when they wanted certain things. For instance, my son, he wanted to dress trendy for high school when he started in that. So who did he go to? He went to my sister. My niece, when she wanted to make cookies and just talk and just sit in her pajamas all day, she knew to come to my house. That's where it was. And even though we had different personalities, we actually were both fun to hang out with. Even now as adults, we're fun to hang out with. And my sister, though, she really has this assertive personality, and she can walk into the room and she just has that presence about her, right? My loud voice gives me away. You all know I'm here when you can hear me from the other room away. We're always just loud. But if I ever needed to make a complaint at a store or a phone call, I would always have her do it. And then she would call me if she needed to smooth things over. She had me do it for her. So when it comes to family, I'm more of the people pleaser. She's up front and tells you the way it is. We always laugh about our different personalities, and we know we're very different. And she always teases me, well, they like you because you're the nice one. And I really can't say what we call her because we are in church. Just kidding. But we just heard about another pair of sisters who are also different in personality. And Luke wrote about these 2 sisters who were friends with Jesus, along with their brother Lazarus. And Luke tells us that Jesus stops by their house for a visit. And Martha immediately gets busy. She gets busy preparing the meal, and I'm sure she was cleaning and making sure everything was perfect because she wanted everything to be just right, especially for this visitor, right? It was Jesus. And I'm sure if you listening today, just know how Martha feels, right? I'm sure we got a few Marthas in the room. If you have guests coming over, you just dig in and you try to make everything just right. And that's all you focus on is that. But then there's Mary. And I'm sure some of you know how Mary must have felt that day. She was excited. Her friend was coming to visit. She was excited. She couldn't wait to hear the stories that he was going to share, the teachings he might give. So she made herself comfortable right on the floor and right next to Jesus' feet. Martha's distracted preparing, and Mary's content, just sitting at Jesus' feet. Each one is doing what they feel is essential. Each one is doing what comes naturally to them. And when Martha couldn't take it anymore, she complained to Jesus that, I'm stuck doing all this work and you're allowing that? Tell her to get up. Help me. But I love how Jesus acknowledges Mary, or Martha, I should say. He acknowledges her worry. He understands her distractions. But yet he turns around and he brings it back to Mary and he says, Mary's choice was the best one for this situation. But we need to note here, though. You see, Jesus doesn't condemn Martha for what she's doing, but instead, he offers an invitation to let her realize and let her know that she missed out on this opportunity to spend with him. She also missed out on the chance to be with Mary. And that's what Jesus calls the better part. It's not what Martha had chosen to do was wrong or bad, because let's face it, it's essential work, right? Someone had to make the meal. And Martha wanted to ensure that everything was right, everything was perfect, because she had a special guest. And we would probably say Martha was focused on being productive, so she thought Mary should be doing the same. Just like Martha, when we become distracted, we take for granted that our way is the only way, and that's how things need to be done. Does that sound familiar to anybody? I won't call out any names. But just like Martha, when we become distracted, we take for granted that everyone needs to follow just like us. And unfortunately, when we too get distracted, we can miss out on opportunities, these opportunities to connect with loved ones. And the funny thing is about families is that we each have a role. And it's not always the role that you want, and it's not the role that you always dreamed of having. No, it's more like the role that you take on either by necessity or for the love of family. When my sister and I were younger, my role in the family was to be the pleaser, make sure everybody was okay and everybody was happy. For many years, I made sure I didn't disappoint anybody. The flow was right. Everybody was happy. Everybody was doing what they were doing. And if something was out of sync there, I would make sure that I was the fixer. I helped out because I had to make sure they were all happy. And my sister's role in the family was to pursue whatever she dreamt she wanted to accomplish and not let anyone get in the way. And when we became adults and we all kind of gradually started moving back to Michigan, my parents bought property next to us, and then my sister moved up with her 2 children, and they moved in with my parents, and my mom and my sister both traveled with their jobs. So my sister's role became working, having to make money, support her family. And my role became the caretaker for my niece, my nephew, my dad, along with my son and my husband, and we all would eat dinner together. And between my dad and myself, we would always make sure that we always got the kids to every event that they needed to be in, because they were in every sport you can ever imagine. And then 4-H on top of it. And then between the 3 of us, we all would make sure that we would attend each of the kids' events. And the older we became, the more our role in the family changed. When my father died in 2020, I had to step up and take the role as the leader of the family. My mom and my sister were having difficulty having even to call the friends and family, handling any of the paperwork or any of the arrangements. So I had to take care of that. I took that role on as the leader of the family, the head of the household, if you want to say. It wasn't a role I really wanted, but I had to step up because of necessity. And after moving here, my mom had to have surgery, and since I couldn't be there, my sister had to take on the role of being the caretaker for my mom for after the surgery. I'm sure many of you know your roles in your family. And I'm sure some of your roles are not what you thought they would be or want to be, but you do that out of necessity. And you do it because you love your family. So from our scripture reading today, Martha represents the role of serving and taking care of practical needs. She's focused on hospitality and ensuring everything was in place. And Mary represents the role of listening and being present. She chose to sit at Jesus' feet. She chose to take that time to listen to what he had to say. She valued the spiritual nourishment and this connection she was having with Jesus. And Martha's duties were practical. Her role was essential and necessary. Every family has daily tasks and responsibilities. Every family has needs that need attention, right? However, it's crucial not to let these duties consume all of our time and our energy. And we need to note, though, that Mary's role was equally important. You see, spending meaningful quality time with family members, it takes work. It takes time. It involves listening. It involves engaging in conversations and really being emotionally present. The story of Mary and Martha provides rich insights into setting priorities and avoiding distractions in the family life. Here are some practical ways, though, that we can learn from this story. Martha was busy preparing and serving, which was necessary for hosting this guest. And like Martha, we need to identify the essential tasks that need attention. And these might include cooking, cleaning, working, and other kinds of household responsibilities. And while these tasks are essential, we also must learn that they should not be overshadowed by the need of meaningful interactions, and most of all, rest. And when we feel overwhelmed in fulfilling our role, we need to stop. Take a breath. Maybe even avoid setting expectations that lead to feeling overwhelmed. And perhaps creating a balanced schedule where household chores are shared among family members to prevent one person from being overwhelmed. And Mary, who chose to sit with Jesus and listen to his teachings and his spiritual nourishment and connection, what can we learn from that? What does Mary have to teach us? Well, Mary's choice is to listen to Jesus highlights the importance of ranking relationships and presence. And this means setting aside time to be fully present with loved ones in our family. Just as Mary sought spiritual nourishment, we too must select activities that feed our spiritual and emotional well-being. No matter your role, no matter the role in your family, we must determine what is most important, especially for your family's well-being. And this includes both completing necessary tasks and also nurturing relationships. See, our role in the family is crucial. Every role in the family is important. But we must also be mindful of becoming too distracted by the roles and responsibilities within the family. Because sometimes we get too distracted and we neglect spending time with Jesus. You see, when we busy ourselves, our roles, there can be consequences, especially when we get distracted, such as spiritual neglect. Have you ever felt that way? Have you ever just felt so drained and like something's missing? See, what we need to learn from Mary is sometimes we too need to sit down by Jesus' feet and take in the presence and receive the teachings. And by following Mary's way, we can build our own relationship with Jesus. Spending time through prayer, doing Bible studies, coming to worship, listening to worship. Do whatever it is that's essential for your spiritual growth. And by just being distracted, we neglect to spend time with Jesus so that we find that it can lead to spiritual dryness, weakened faith. Have you ever just gotten to that point where you're just like, I don't even know what to pray anymore? You just feel so dried up. You just feel so empty. So without regular communion with Jesus, we may miss out on his guidance and wisdom daily, leading to poor decision making and even a lack of divine perspective. But there's also a chance that sometimes with that neglect, we face emotional and mental strain. We focus solely on tasks and responsibilities without any spiritual renewal, and it leads us to burnout. It leads us to those times when we just don't even want to get off the couch or out of bed sometimes. So remember, Jesus offers rest. Jesus offers peace. And that's crucial, especially for emotional well-being. So spending regular time with Jesus can bring peace, can bring joy that transcends into circumstances. And without it, we may be easily overwhelmed by life's pressures. Do any of you have pressures in your life? Oh, I don't. Mine's just perfect. Yeah. You see, many times when we get too distracted, we begin to feel unfulfilled. And no matter how well we manage our family roles and responsibilities and true fulfillment, there needs to come that relationship with Jesus. And neglecting this relationship can only lead to emptiness and even purpose in our own lives. So it's wise to periodically assess how well you balance your family responsibilities and also your spiritual life. We need to take time to make adjustments as needed to ensure that Jesus remains a priority in each of our lives. So what are some ways that we can do better? How can we gain a balance of learning to spend time with Jesus and continue to fulfill our roles within our family? For one, we can dedicate specific times throughout the day. Time for prayer. I'm a good car prayer, I guess I'd say. When I get in the car, I just hang on to that steering wheel and I just start praying. I just pray. And it's like, okay, Lord, I'm heading to this meeting. Okay, Lord, I'm heading here. Okay, Lord, I'm heading there. Fill me, help me, talk to me. Show me the ways that I need to be. So either design a time of early morning or evenings that might work well with you, but it avoids conflicts with some things that you're responsible for. And we could also incorporate family devotions to ensure everyone spends time with Jesus together. And this can strengthen both you as an individual, but also bring you closer with loved ones. We could also encourage family members to spend time with Jesus with lovingly, supportingly, and even going as far as holding each other accountable. One night, while we were eating dinner, my niece, who was really young at the time, just says out of the blue, she says, I'm really upset. Okay, what seems to be the problem? And she says, you know, when we go to church on Sundays, she says, I really get upset because I feel like I'm left out because I don't know the Lord's Prayer. She says, everybody says it together and I don't know it. So ding, 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 a couple things go off there like, ooh, we need to start printing that in the bulletin and we need to do this and that. But so that's the way I'm triggering there, but she's sincere. She's got tears in her eyes. She goes, I want to know the Lord's Prayer. I want to feel like I'm part of what everyone else is saying. So we took the time at dinner time, because that's the time when we mostly were all together, and we started praying the Lord's Prayer for our meal. And we kept saying it over and over, and she'd say it with us and go as far as she could until she learned it. And then we got a little tricky because that was a teacher of me. Okay, now we're going to do round robin. I'll start it off, and then somebody else has to pick it up. So we get going right there. I know the teachers of you, like, I can't hear you. But that's like what we did. But now she's 25, and she still talks about that time. She's like, that time meant so much to me. We were together in a family learning a prayer. We were together as a family holding each other up, making sure we all got it. So by intentionally prioritizing time with Jesus, you can ensure that your spiritual life remains. It remains vibrant. It remains providing that foundation and strength that's needed to fulfill your family roles. And it also helps you to be more effective and maybe even a little more joyful in the tasks that we have to do. So by balancing what we can from Mary and Martha, we can all learn how to improve our roles within our family and yet have a stronger relationship with God. So let me ask you, what are you willing to change this week? One thing you're willing to change this week to better your family role and to strengthen your relationship with God. Amen? Amen.